think I've ever said this before, but I'm a huge fan of wild woman hair. Like if your hair is just curly and crazy. The last girl I was dating, she used to let her hair be all crazy, and then one time she like straightened it out because we were going to someone's wedding, and I was like, when I saw it, I was kind of like, oh, and she's like, I put a lot of work into this. Come on.
Oh man, yeah, it's a fun feeling to straighten your hair when you have curly hair. It's a very controlled feeling. You feel like it's silky and manageable, and you're very aware of how it looks, so that's kind of a nice feeling.
And you're brunette, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever want to be a redhead because you were a fan of The Little Mermaid?
Yeah, actually. There was definitely a phase when I was first getting into college where I really wanted my hair to be red, but when you are a brunette, in order to have really striking red hair, you would have to bleach your hair first. So I was never really willing to go that far.
Yeah.
I think I had a couple of auburn dyes where, I put red in and my hair looked red occasionally when you saw it in sunlight, but most of, it's still brown. It still looked brown.
Other than what I just said to you, what's the most memorable thing a fan has said to you?
Wow.
Not that what I said was memorable. It was just I was talking about your hair.
Wow, that's a hard question. I think the most important thing that anyone has ever said to me was I had this woman. She didn't tell it to me. She told it to my mother because she met my mother and had gotten the disc through my mother. She had just lost her brother to cancer, and my mom gave her my album, just sort of thinking, here's, a gift I can give you right now. And the woman listened to the album on the way home and wept the whole way, and then went inside her house and listened to it again and wept again. And she sent my mother an email that said that she knew that this album was a message from her brother that she was going to be able to make it through. And to me, that was the most powerful thing. There are definitely, I'm a tender person. I definitely get very emotional sometimes, and there are songs and records that have, I think, really saved me and given me a lot of hope, which is the most powerful feeling. And so knowing that I could do that for somebody else, I think was the biggest deal. And when people come to me and they tell me that my songs make them weep or my songs make them feel something immense, it's not that I love making people cry, but I love making people feel, because I think it's just so important, and it lends you a lot of strength to allow yourself to feel hard emotions. So I'd say that was the best thing.
And it sounds like she went through some healing.
Yeah, I think, I never really talked to her again, but if I know anything about what it feels like to be in a hard place and hear a record that really changes things for you, you weep it out, and that's the joy, is it gets out of your body and into the world. And, it's never the same when you lose somebody, but if you have something to turn to that feels like a message from them, I think that's very powerful.
Now, the band I saw you play with at the Oakland Art Murmur, is that the band you usually play with? And who are they? They
are fabulous. So that is and isn't the band I usually play with. I tend to rotate my musicians pretty regularly. I have a wonderful community of musicians that I can fortunately send out an email to a few drummers, a few bass players, and see who's available for whatever gig. And that way I'm free to just say yes and then figure out the musician situation later. Those particular musicians that you saw were drummer Aaron Gold, who is extremely talented. He played with another local band called Astronauts, Etc. That's fabulous.
I like that name.
And then, yeah, he is absolutely, you can find him on the internet, and he's just phenomenal, wonderful, wonderful songwriter. His name is Anthony Ferraro, and he usually plays keys in my band, but he couldn't make it that day. And then I had Luke Bacci, who is the bass player for a group called Big Tree and another group called Bose. Very talented musician. I often play with a fellow named Scott Brown, who is just wonderful. He's a bass player in so many local bands, I couldn't name them. Jazz background, really, really funny character. So between him and Luke, I'm usually covered on the bass. One of my, the ones I stick to as much as I can whenever she's available is the violinist Hannah Van Loon. I call her a violinist, but that woman can play anything, basically. She's just a fabulous musician all around. She plays in a group called Trails and Ways that's pretty popular, and they're touring around. And there was a young lady named Alicia Lang, who's a songwriter in her own right, and she was doing backup vocals for me. And that day, I believe that was the entirety of the lineup there. And Drew Brown is a guitarist that I love playing with. He's actually also in the group Waterstrider. It's a fabulous clan. I also often play with a really fantastic jazz drummer named Sean Lewiecki, and he plays in quite a few groups, including a group called Painted Palm. So it's interesting, I'm very lucky in the sense that I've got quite a few musicians who know my music, who enjoy it, and who can pick it up very quickly and play with me.
That's fantastic. Gosh.
It's really wonderful. They're great people.
I am always amazed by people like you who can corral a bunch of musicians and, get them to come together. And it's like you're the guy. Who's the guy that led the A team? Oh, Hannibal something. And you're like,
no idea, actually.
You're like, Face, you're Murdoch, and we're all going, and we're hopping in my van, and we're blowing up the bad guys. Only you're doing it with your music.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like that after you play a good show. It's like, yes, we did it. We conquered.
I am just amazed. Because I feel like there was, didn't Joe Cocker do that? He would assemble a lot of interesting musicians behind him. The Mad Dogs and Englishmen thing with and he could get a group to back him. And still to this day, he's always got these amazing musicians playing behind him. So you have a group of people, an interesting group, a ragtag team taking on the world musically. It's awesome. And tell me about this song. I love this song, Song of the Dead.
Sing of the Dead.
Sing of the Dead.
It's another love song, and it's sort of, I think what I was thinking of, I have experienced more death than I think I would have loved to, obviously, right? It's not something you love. But there is so much vividness in the world post-funeral. And I think anybody that has experienced the loss of a loved one knows what I'm talking about. And there's this moment where just everything and everyone around you is so real and so present. And that is something I really treasure. And I think when I wrote this song, I was writing about, I feel like a lot of my songs do tend to be two things sort of pushed together. And this was a song about being in love and living and feeling, but it was also a song about hope. And the bridge of the song is, sing of the dead until the day they return again. And sort of saying that by, within love and within all these things that we experience as humans, if we create something beautiful and we hold on to them in the right way, they can return to us.
Wow. Beautiful. I love how you describe your songs.
Thank you. They're like children. It's one of those things you sit down and they show up. It doesn't really feel all the time like you came up with them as much as just they show up and say hello and tell you how they're going to go, and then you have to find the way to represent them best. And then eventually you record them and send them off to college in the world, and they're out of your hands. Wow.
And there's some nice piano on this, too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was fun.
And you're playing that.
I am playing that. Mm-hmm.
So I love this song. I love it so much I butchered the name. So it's Sing of the Dead. Here it is Idea the artist, Ines Beltranina. More about her at ideatheartist.com, ideatheartist.bandcamp.com. She's also on facebook.com/ideatheartist. What else am I missing?
I think that's all of it.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I can't wait to see you play again somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing at the Berkeley Subterranean Art House on December 3rd.
Ooh.
The show starts at about 8 p.m., and it's a very personal venue, so there are limited seats. But it should be a wonderful show, and that will be fabulous. And then I think I'll have another show in late January, but that's not confirmed yet. So if you guys would like to come see me, I will be playing December 3rd at the Subterranean Art House in Berkeley.
Subterranean
Art House.
Art House. Mm-hmm. There she goes. Well, okay, perfect. Thank you, Idea the Artist, for being on the show. It's Sing of the Dead, your song that you're singing right now on Mike's Daily Podcast. Idea the Artist, Ines Beltranina. As we go outside of the last place on earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley, California. That was fun talking to her. So much fun. And she's got so many great songs, doesn't she? She's going to go far. And you can help her go far by going to her shows, going to her website at ideatheartist.com. It's got more information there. Hey, what's this?
And here's today's podcast picture.
Hey, it's a funny picture. Yeah. Is Miley Cyrus going to start sounding like that now? She's dating Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, like Maria Shriver and Arnold's son. So I guess like a Kennedy, right? Kinda. So that's the sign of the apocalypse. When a Cyrus and a Kennedy get together, the first horseman will appear. And they'll go riding with them. Because they like horses, because they're country folk. And Australian folk. And East Coast. Martha's Vineyard folk. So what happened